Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out My Adventures of Superman episode 4. This episode sees Lois, Clark and Jimmy investigate a Mesotech and its founder Dr. Anthony Ivo. Given a chance by Perry White to do some actual journalism at a big gala event that Ivo is throwing his investors. Right off the bat we're told Ivo is bad news, as the group already know that he has shady connections to the criminal underworld of Metropolis, as the Mesotech has flattened an entire impoverished neighborhood to erect their new HQ. I'm getting really big Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg vibes from this iteration of Ivo. He's a bit younger, he's more arrogant than ever, but it works in the space the show is setting up. This setup, which is neatly done before the 2-minute mark of the episode, so it's nice and clear and concise, leads into another mainstay in Superman's animated adventures, which is of course a fancy party being interrupted by supervillains. In this case Ivo himself, who, as we learn over the course of the episode, has developed a special armor he has dubbed PARASITE 1.0, something he alludes to wanting to use to protect Metropolis against invaders like Superman. Is very much a Lex Luthor play here, but as well he wants to use it to take out his head investors that are trying to take his company out from underneath him. So as I said just now, that's pretty much like a Lex Luthor like plan. He's got like the armor he wants to use to take Superman out of play as well as his competitors, and it's done absolutely on purpose, as this episode we also meet a character named Alex, who is Ivo's kind of lab assistant type person who warns him of the problems of the parasite suit, something Ivo doesn't take into consideration, and it's heavily alluded to that Alex is kind of the brains of the operation while Ivo is taking credit for it all since he's got the connections in the business world. If it's not apparent enough by the name or the look of the character, Alex is Alexander Luthor, or Lex Luthor. I've been wondering how they were going to introduce him onto the show, and I think they did it the right way, making him a background character already in the city, setting him up with some of these other villains, and putting him on a path where he will decide that, no, I'm going to do this all on my own and make my own company and find a way to pit him against Superman, which I'm very much looking forward to see how and where he appears next and how they go about doing that. I am, however, not sure about Ivo becoming Parasite though. This was just a very 1.0 version, and they make that very clear throughout the entire episode that this was just like a concept for the Parasite suit, so I assume whatever the next one will be Rudy Jones. Maybe even Lex takes that technology now that Ivo is in hospital and in prison and turns Rudy into Parasite like he does in Superman's Secret Origin. Lois and Clark's relationship takes a big step forward as well, as they both attend the fancy gala together, getting all dressed up and flirting with each other over the episode, whether if this is a real date or not. It's so lovely to see this type of character work happen, especially this early, and it developing very naturally as well. They have a great chemistry between each other, and Lois choosing to see Clark rather than Superman as the one she likes is really great too. All the best adaptations of the Superman origin do that. Because of this, however, it makes the cliffhanger of the episode all that more impactful, since over the course of the issue, Jimmy and Lois are setting about to find out who Superman is, looking through cheap tabloids for any signs of flying people or kids with special powers and whatnot. Clark manages to remove some pages that sort of reference back to some stuff he did in Smallville in his early years, but thanks to the little lovely date they have, Lois ends up discovering the ripped up paper in Clark's pocket, and, because she's a damn good reporter, begins piecing it all together and reveals to herself that Clark Kent is Superman. I'm really glad they're getting it out of the way really quickly, and I don't really like that they do the whole Lois doesn't know thing in a modern setting, since it doesn't make much sense to do it in a modern setting when you have videos and cameras and, you know, people, social media, all that sort of stuff. People always have cameras on them and everything. So for Lois to sort of pick it up, you know, right off the bat is really quite cool. Lets her do her whole ace reporter stuff, and yeah, it's great. I'm intrigued to see how that's going to affect their relationship now that it's happening so early on in the relationship. Episode 4 of My Adventures with Superman introduced us to some more new villains and had a great focus on Lois and Clark's relationship, which takes a massive step forward as well as a real interesting turn thanks to a cool cliffhanger that I'm excited to get into next episode. I'm going to give this episode a 10 out of 10, so check it out. And while you're here, why not check out my reviews of the first 3 episodes of the series, or see what's happening with Superman in the comics in Night Terror's Superman issue 1.